2 years ago, I sold my house. I took that money, bought income-producing assets, and became a millionaire. And with the housing market sitting near top right now, that wasn't bad luck. That was the plan. Most people think renting means you're throwing money away, but I'm about to show you the exact numbers that prove owning could actually be the riskier move in today's market. Plus the simple math you need to run before you buy anything. Now, I wasn't always the guy telling people to rent. For most of my adult life, I believed exactly what you probably believe right now. That renting is throwing money away. That a house is the smartest investment a regular person can make. That owning is just what responsible people do. So I bought the house. And for years I told myself the mortgage, the repairs, the property taxes, the insurance that crept up every single year. I told myself all of it was building my future. Then one year my insurance renewal showed up, and the number had doubled. Doubled. And that was the moment I finally sat down and ran the numbers. Not the numbers the bank shows you, the real ones. And honestly, it made me a little sick, because I realized I'd been paying to feel wealthy instead of paying to become wealthy. So I did the thing everybody thinks is crazy. I sold, and 2 years later, those assets are what made me a millionaire, not the house. And look, I'm not here to tell you to never buy a home. I just want to show you the math nobody runs before they sign, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. I'm going to break this down into 4 quick parts. First, the math your parents used to buy a house and why it's completely broken today. Second, the 4 myths about owning that are quietly costing people a fortune. Third, my numbers evaluation of renting versus buying, so you can see the gap for yourself. And fourth, the 5 questions that tell you if buying really is the right move for you. Because sometimes it is. All right, let's get into it. So let's start with the dream you got sold. For decades, the American dream had a formula, and it actually worked. The rule your parents used was simple. Buy a house that costs about 2.5 times what you make in a year. Put 20% down. Keep the payment under about a third of your income. Do that, and a house was a reasonable kind of boring, wealth-building decision. Here's the problem. Run that same formula today, and it falls apart. The typical American home now costs close to $400,000, not including the high rates of insurance, financing costs, taxes, maintenance, and repairs. To follow the old rule, you'd need to earn around 160 grand a year and have 80,000 sitting in cash just for the down payment. That's not real life for most people. So instead, folks stretch and they tell themselves it's fine because it's an investment. But almost nobody stops to do this one calculation. What does that house actually cost you once you finance it? When you take a mortgage, you don't pay the sticker price. You pay the sticker price plus interest. And the interest is brutal. On a $400,000 loan at today's rates, you'll pay over $460,000 in interest alone across 30 years. So sit with that for a second. The house was $400,000. You pay back more than $860. You didn't buy one house. You basically paid for 2, and you only get to keep 1. And I'm not pulling this number out of thin air. This was basically my exact situation, and it gets sneakier. You might be thinking, okay, but at least every payment is building my ownership, right? Not really. Mortgages are built so you pay the lender first. In the early years, most of your monthly payment is just interest. On a normal 30-year loan, the point where you're finally paying more toward the actual house than toward interest doesn't show up until around year 18 or 19. Think about that. For almost 2 decades, you're mostly paying the bank. You're barely building real equity. You never even reach the part where the house starts working for you. Okay, so that's the setup. Now let's hit the 4 myths that keep people buying anyway. Myth number 1. Prices always go up. This is the big one. And I get why people believe it. For most of our lives, it looked true, but it's not a law of nature. And right now, in real time, it's breaking. As I'm making this video, more than half of America's biggest housing markets are actually dropping in value, while a few Midwest cities are still climbing. So this idea that real estate only goes up isn't just shaky, it's getting disproven on a map of the country as we speak. And historically, a nationwide crash is rare, sure, but local downturns happen somewhere in the country about every decade. The catch is, you don't get to pick which kind of market you bought into until it's too late. Myth number 2. My home value doubles every 10 years. Even when a home does go up, people forget the hidden costs eating that gain alive. Property taxes, insurance, which is climbing fast right now, maintenance, repairs, closing costs coming and going, loan interest, which is only tax deductible if you qualify, and the big one nobody counts, lost opportunity cost. That down payment sitting in your walls could have been invested in growing this whole time. Subtract all of that, and the amazing return on the average home shrinks a lot more than people expect. Myth number 3, leverage only works in your favor. Quick question. You've heard that using the bank's money multiplies your gains, right? True, but nobody mentions it multiplies your losses the exact same way. If you put 20% down and the home drops 20%, you didn't lose 20%. You lost your entire down payment. Leverage cuts both ways, and in a softening market, that matters more than usual. Foreclosures are already starting to tick up. Myth number 4, the mortgage interest deduction saves me money. People love this one. But think about what we just covered. To get that deduction, you first have to pay all that interest, the interest that's front-loaded straight to the bank. Second, you need to qualify for the deduction. Even so, getting a small tax break on a giant pile of interest you didn't need to pay in the first place isn't a win. It's a consolation prize. All right, enough theory. Let me show you my real situation because this is where it clicked for me. When I owned, my true monthly costs of the mortgage, taxes, insurance, and the money I set aside for repairs was way more than the rent I pay now for a comparable place. I saved $1,576 every month on average. That surprises people every time. But rent is throwing money away. Is it though? Because here's what nobody counts. When you own, the interest, the taxes, the insurance, the maintenance, that money is gone too. You don't get it back either. The only part of a mortgage payment that's really yours is that tiny sliver going to principal in the early years. The rest just evaporates. Same as rent. So here's what I did. I sold. I took the equity plus the money I'd been overspending every month, and I put it into income-producing assets. Things that pay me instead of charging me. And the difference between what those assets earn me and what a house would have earned me just sitting there, that gap is a huge part of how I hit 7 figures in 2 years. A house for most people is not an investment, it's a purchase. A big, emotional, expensive purchase dressed up in investment language. And once you stop treating it like a retirement plan, everything gets a lot clearer. Now, what were those income-producing assets exactly? Hold that thought. I'll point you to it at the end. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not anti-house. Sometimes buying is absolutely the right call. So before you rush out to buy, or swear it off forever, run these 5 questions honestly. 1. Are you going to live there at least 10 years? If not, the upfront costs and all that front-loaded interest rarely pay off. 2. Will the total cost, everything, not just the mortgage, stay under about 28% of your income? If it's stretching you thin, that's a warning sign, not a starter home. 3. Do you actually have a real 20% down payment saved? Not scraped together, not borrowed, saved. 4. Would you genuinely be okay if the value dropped the day after you bought? In this market, that's not a hypothetical. If a dip would wreck you financially or emotionally, you're not ready. 5. Are you actually excited to own this specific home for your life? Or are you just doing what you think you're supposed to do? Buy a home because you want to live in it, not because you're scared that renting makes you a failure. If you said a confident yes to all 5, buying might be a great move for you. If you hesitated on even a couple, renting and investing the difference could quietly build you more wealth than owning ever would. And look, don't just take my word for any of this. Run your own numbers. I dropped a few free calculators down in the description so you can plug in your exact situation. There's a rent versus buy calculator from NerdWallet that even factors in investing the difference, which is the whole point of this video. There's an amortization calculator from Bankrate that shows you the real total cost of a loan, so you can see for yourself how much of your money is going straight to the bank. And there's one called Amortio that does both in one place. No sign-up needed. Go plug in your real rent, your real home price, your real rate, and let the math tell you the truth for your life, not mine. So here's where we landed. Renting isn't throwing money away. Owning isn't automatically building wealth. A house is a purchase, not an investment. And in a market sitting near a top, the safe choice everyone pushes you toward might actually be the risky one. Now you know the exact math to run before you sign anything. So you can make that decision like an investor, instead of like someone just following a script written for a world that doesn't exist anymore. Before I give you the income-producing assets I bought, the Laws for Wealth channel wants to thank SaneBox for sponsoring this video. Look, you probably already know how overwhelming and out-of-control inbox feels with all the emails we get every day. SaneBox fixes that, and it lets you train your inbox to sort your emails, saving you real time every day. It's an AI-powered email tool that learns which emails actually matter to you, and it quietly moves everything else out of your way, so your inbox only shows you what needs your attention right now. No more digging through promotional noise to find the one message you actually needed. SaneBox works with whatever email you already use: Gmail, Outlook, Apple Mail, and it sets up in minutes. There's a link in the description to SaneBox, and they're offering our viewers a free trial so you can see for yourself before spending a cent. Now, let's get back to it. If this changed how you think about buying a home, go ahead and subscribe. That's the whole point of this channel, showing you the money math nobody teaches. It's free and it helps more than you'd think. Now, I promised I'd tell you what I actually bought. Remember those income-producing assets? The ones that made me a millionaire in 2 years while everyone else was pouring money into mortgages? I broke down all 5 of them. Exactly what they are, how much each one pays me, and how much you'd need to get started. It's in this next video right here. Fair warning though, number 3 is the one nobody expects. And it's probably the easiest one to start with the least amount of money. Go click it, and I'll see you over there.